All right, it's day 114. Day 113 was a 0. Weather was predicted to be thunderstorms. Actually didn't, so oh well. But I worked and Buzz replaced the fresh water pump in the van that was going out. So yeah. So on day 114, it's an interesting hike today. We don't have any good road crossings to get picked up on unless we could hike the entire 16 plus miles over 2 mountains. Fortunately, the 2 mountains are over 4,600 feet of climbing, and what makes it even worse is the trail conditions. If you read the far out comments, there's places where you're going to be hiking in knee-deep mud and some other bad situations. So it's going to make it slow going. Likely we will not make the 16 plus miles to get picked up. So we might make it only to the next shelter, which is called Eliza shelter, which is half the distance and half the elevation. So we don't know. We're just going to play it by ear when we get there. See if we feel up to going further. But because we aren't sure and think there's a smaller possibility of making it all the way to the next pickup point, we have to carry our full packs. So we are hiking with full packs, which makes the chances of making the 16 plus miles less because we're carrying a lot more weight. But if we don't take our full packs then and find out we can't make it, we're kind of screwed. So it's an insurance policy no matter what. Yeah, and we're climbing now, so. So we got a text message from Vanish. She said there's quite a large group of hikers down there now below us. Not that far because we're not up that high. And they're all planning on stopping at Eliza shelter. So if we are planning on stopping at Eliza shelter, it's going to be crowded and maybe full. Now the issue with it being full is that Buzz took a gamble and didn't bring a tent just to keep his pack lighter. So he has to stay in the shelter. I did bring a tent, so I'll be all right. And there are boards under here, but they're underwater. And pretty much going to have wet shoes all day, I think. So I told Buzz to go ahead and turn on his afterburners, which he can do, and get to that shelter and reserve himself a spot. I don't need one, I got a tent, but if he ended up not having space at the shelter, that would be a bad thing. My tent can't fit 2 people, it barely fits 1. For anybody who knows, it's a Durston 1 person. And yeah, so we'll see how it goes. That's the challenge for him right now. I think he got his pack down to about 12 pounds total, and which is pretty good. He's decided not to bring a stove. He's going to cold soak. So yeah, I brought a stove. I brought my full cook kit. I brought my tent. So I'm probably about 15, maybe even 16 pounds, which is still not bad. Well, we've been climbing since we started, and we're still climbing, but it leveled off a little bit. And yeah, so there's been some very steep parts. So we're down to only 7 miles and a little over 1,600 feet of climbing, which really seems like small numbers now. But I think when we read the comments on Far Out about the trail conditions, there are parts of the trail that are, they said, submerged. There's a section, this may be after, maybe tomorrow's section, assuming we stop at Eliza, but there's a section with submerged boards, and you have to use like a blind man's cane to tap to feel where the boards are, because if you don't step on the boards, you sink way down in the mud. They said up past your knees, and that would be bad. you can suck your shoes off too, and then you're in trouble. And there's some other treacherous sections. And we understand, we've been told that there's probably a stream crossing that's uncrossable. At least it was. Whether it'll still be when we get to it, I don't know. But if you get to it and it's still uncrossable, there's a detour, but it's going to add a lot of time or miles to our hike. So, and then there's a lot of places, they said on the far out comments, where you're going to learn to grab rock to get up and down because it's pretty treacherous. So, yeah, all that stuff means that even though it's only 7 miles, it could be a hard 7 miles. We'll see. I've always been looking forward to the whites because we know it's interesting, and so far it proved to be. And so I do enjoy that part of it. It's been not boring, not mundane. Yeah. So there'll be a couple of relatively new things for us today. One is carrying a full pack. The other is probably collecting and filtering water. I have done neither of those things for 750 miles plus ever since Hot Springs. When we flipped up to Harper's Ferry, we've slack packed every day since. We carried the water we needed every day since. And there were many sections where I'm glad I just carried the water because the water looked pretty bad. But yeah, we're definitely going to have to get water up here, and we're carrying a full pack. And we're faced with these choices. Large, flat, wet, mossy surface like that is treacherous. Or have people been going up on the edges. And typical leave no trace, you don't want to go off trail, but you don't want to die. So you have to make these choices. Wait, we're going up that? Alright, I made it up the first part. I gotta get up that. Alright, that was actually pretty easy when you use the trees on the edge. Just hold on to them. The thing that's actually kind of surprising me is we had like 15 hikers that were starting after I started on the hike today. They're at the bottom of the mountain. I fully expected to be passed by most, if not all of them, based on the fact that I'm kind of slow, and I've not been passed by one. So either they just took their time and decided to just hang out until they started walking. I don't know. It's weird. The concern is that all the hikers would get to the shelter before Buzz and I. Of course, now Buzz has taken off and he should be at the shelter pretty shortly. So he'll have a spot. He'll probably try to save me a spot. I don't know if I really want to stay in the shelter or just tent. Yeah, there's positives and negatives. Well, it looks like work has been happening here. Oops. Interesting. So I think this is worth it, not having to blow it up. I'm tired. It's pretty quick. So this is the sleep system. I put the Gossamer gear under it, a 1/8 inch folded pad. And I put the sleeping pad on top. And then the sleeping bag goes on. I brought the liner because, not because I need it for warmth. I think it might be because this may be all I need to keep warm tonight. I'm not sure. I might just use the liner. It's pretty hot out now. I can't imagine needing the full quilt. But we'll see. I mean, it could get cold at night. And for those following, I might have I've mentioned I probably brought 6 or 7 different pillows. I kind of like this one. It's one of the top ones I like. There's a few others I really like too. One's from Big Sky International. Anyways, this is a good one, so I'm using it tonight. The Cocoon. All right. The one thing I forgot to bring, which I regret, is camp shoes. I really want to take my shoes off, but I don't have my camp shoes, so I'd be barefoot. And not good. Oh well. Live and learn. All right, we're here at the, what is it? Eliza Brook?
Eliza Brook.
Shelter. There's our poster boy. And we're the only people here. Buzz has got set up here. He's ready to, he's got his sleeping stuff all set up. I got mine, I don't know if you can see it, in that tent over there. Debated tenting or not tenting, and I don't know. I got so tired of mosquitoes I decided to tent. Not that they're bothering us here. I mean, it's actually been fine.
There are a few.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It might get worse at night. We'll see. So, yeah. So I still have to go get water. And then we're going to make some dinner a little bit. And, yeah. It's pretty early. What is it? 3:30. 3:30. So for us, that's a pretty early day. But again, you have no choice. It's either that or hike all the way to Kinsman, which is probably not going to happen. All right, this is what they call their cooking area. And there's a dishwashing area. And there's a bear box to lock up the food and stuff. And water is supposedly down this way. So we'll see. As you can see, the stream is there. Hopefully I don't have to walk too far.